Welcome to Western Mass News Digital Edition. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Amanda Martin Ryan. The government shutdown may be over for now, but it is over, but Western Mass is still feeling the effects heading into the winter months. Governor Maura Healey today put the heat on the Trump administration to restore heating assistance immediately.
This coming as some residents have to make choices between heating their homes and other finances, such as putting food on the table. The president says the assistance will not be restored until the end of the month, but with colder weather approaching, concerns are apparent.
For example, LIHEAP helps more than 150,000 households during the winter months. If you or someone you know needs heating assistance, you can call the number there on your screen.
In Ludlow, traffic becoming a concern near the high school, where residents have said that drivers aren't paying attention to the road signs. Many saying drivers are speeding and not fully stopping at the stop sign in the area of Stevens Terrace, Mountain View Street, and Parkview Street. Western Mass News has been on that scene and has noticed several vehicles not coming to complete stops on Parkview and Mountain View Streets. The Ludlow Police Department sent out a reminder to drivers about complying with traffic rules, including making a complete stop in the wake of the tips they've received.
Investigation is underway to determine what started a fire at a house in West Springfield yesterday. One person is still recovering from injuries this afternoon. Everyone else who was inside the home made it out safely. The West Springfield Fire Chief says the two alarm fires started just after 2:30 yesterday afternoon. When crews got to the scene, they saw flames shooting from the front and the side of the home. The flames even damaged the outside of a nearby house. The fire was contained by around 4 o'clock, with most of the flames put out and investigators examining the debris left behind. We'll continue to update you on new details as those become available.
When you're driving on the road for your commute, you might wonder, are our streets safe for pedestrians? A crash earlier this week in West Springfield has sparked online concerns as to how safe Route 20 is for pedestrians looking across the street. The crash involved a man who was hit by a minibus Tuesday night near the corner of Route 20 and West Street, again in West Springfield. When the crash first occurred, many took to Facebook to talk about the pedestrian safety issues. However, police attribute the crash to the time of day and the darkness of the victim's clothing.
In Springfield, police making 6 arrests in 6 weeks as part of an ongoing investigation into illegal drug dealing in the area of Federal and Washington streets. Over that time, police seized 3 illegal guns, crack cocaine, and heroin and fentanyl, in addition to more than $6,400 in cash. Of the 6 suspects, 1 was arrested during a traffic stop on October 2nd. 4 were arrested during surveillance on October 9th. The final arrest was made after a suspected drug deal on Armory Street on November 19th. All 6 suspects face a slew of various gun and drug charges.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. The time right now is 3:36 on your Thursday afternoon, your Friday Eve, as we're starting to think ahead to the weekend. We're going to get there first, and we have a cold night ahead after, well, a cold night last night and a cold start, but really a nice afternoon. Plenty of sunshine out there, temperatures in the 40s, and the most important thing here, the wind is calm along with that sunshine. Notice your dew point, though, of 18. That's a dry air mass, and with a clear sky and not much wind, once that sun goes down, temperatures which are in the 40s now will be falling quickly into the 20s, and that's where we'll settle overnight tonight. So the wind pretty much calm, and we'll stick with those calm breeze, or no wind, light breezes as we go into the overnight tonight. Seasonable temperatures through the weekend into the beginning part of next week. A mainly dry weekend. Bit of a wild card here is early Saturday morning with some moisture moving out, or clouds moving out. It may start with a shower or 2 or early morning clouds, but Saturday's generally dry and Sunday's dry as well. Next rain chance looks like it comes in around midweek, late Tuesday, probably into Wednesday. Busy travel day Wednesday right now. Looks like we may be dealing with some rainfall. So you're 24, 9 o'clock, we're down into the 20s, and we'll settle into the 20s overnight tonight. Tomorrow we'll start with some cloudiness, and tomorrow will be partly to mostly cloudy, but we're going to have more of a southerly flow tomorrow. So a mostly cloudy, chilly start to our day tomorrow, but by the afternoon, afternoon, we're going to see readings coming up into the middle and upper 40s, maybe even touching 50 late in the day. And then tomorrow night, temperatures only fall to around 40 degrees. Saturday, we're up near 50 in the afternoon. Rain south. The rain might get up to about Hartford. We're not expecting much still. Maybe a shower Friday night into Saturday morning. And then we'll see some sunshine working in. And Sunday looks like it'll be cool and dry, but seasonable. High pressure keeping things dry. We'll be tracking this system that will be approaching. Out ahead of it, we go mostly cloudy tomorrow, a southerly flow. Here's the front. Look close. There's not much rain with it, right? Maybe a shower tomorrow evening. That's it. And then the bulk of this moisture stays off to our south, and high pressure works back in for the weekend with temperatures in the middle and upper 40s. Your next weather maker, it looks like rain some point late Tuesday, perhaps into Wednesday, as temps come up into the 50s. How that all plays out, we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully it'll be out in time for Thanksgiving, with just colder air to follow. But that's still about 6 days away. But right now the weekend is generally dry. And in fact, the temperature is seasonable. It could be back up near 50 on Monday, and then perhaps some rain the middle of next week. And again, hopefully we can get it out in time for Thanksgiving. All right, that's your forecast. We'll see you in a little while. Amanda and Chris, over to you.
All right, Dan, thanks. It's never too early, apparently, to prepare for the Eastern States Exposition.
Although we just wrapped up the biggie a little less than 2 months ago, you can plan ahead for next year's fair. The deals start today. They're available through December 31st. They include value passes, reduced tickets for single-day admission, and vouchers for the Big E Bakery.
Tickets can be purchased online at the Big E website, and the fair returns September 18th through October 4th of next year.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching today's Western Mass News Digital Edition.
Have a great day, folks. We'll see you at 4.